Hello, Mr. Lopez. How are you?
Very well, thank you. And you, Martin?
Good, good. I'm sitting here with Mr. Lopez, owner and founder of BLNA Architects, and he coincidentally is an architect. So, Mr. Lopez, I'm going to ask you a few questions. I hope you don't mind.
No, of course not.
Okay, so first question is, how did you decide to become an architect? What led you into that field?
Well, actually, it's hard to say. I always wanted to be. I always was fascinated by building and the construction, and how things are put together. So, I was pretty good at drawing. And originally, I wanted to be a painter, and then I ended up being an architect because I could do both. I could do design and drawing and make money out of it. So that's what really triggered the my decision.
That's very interesting. And as far as the designing and drawing go, you do that all yourself, right?
But that's correct.
Okay. And let me ask you something. How did you come to own your own business? Whereas, like, why wouldn't you want to work for anyone else?
Well, actually, once in my profession, you always wanted to do your thing. You always wanted to have your business. And while I was going to school, I was also working in a firm, an architectural firm. And you develop contact, friends, and so on. So when I graduated, a friend of mine came up to me with with an investor that he wanted to do a project. So one thing led to the other, and then I looked at it as an opportunity to open my practice, and that's what I did. I With that project gave me the basis and the cash flow to open up my business. So I started pretty much right after school. Graduated in 1970, and in 1972 I had my practice, my license, and I was ready to go.
Okay. And do you mind what university? Do you mind if I ask what university you went to?
Well, actually, it's University of Miami,
Yeah.
class of 1970,
I won't,
which you, by the way, it was a very close game, but I really enjoy it.
it was very close. So, yeah, let me ask something else. As far as how you started your own business, how did like the planning and all that come into play? So how did like the money, how'd you fund how'd you fund
Well,
your business?
okay, actually, what we do in our business, we get paid by phases. And in this project that we started, the initial payment gave me the basis to rent up a place and set up a very small office.
Right.
I didn't have the money altogether, so I partnered with two other classmates, and we started splitting the expenses and getting small office. And slowly we built up our practice. One job led to the other and to the other, and then that's that's how we started.
Okay, so wow, so the networking connections you made in, the University of Miami really helped you out in your profession.
Well, it helped me a great deal because, like for instance, when you do your internship after you graduate, before you get your license, you need to have a 1 year minimum experience working with the firm.
Right.
And by working while I was going to school, I gained that time. So actually, I was able to go for my license right after my graduation, and it was great working while you study because you it's a good marriage of the academics and the real life and the real business life.
Right. And the 1 year internship, is that like a known basis that you need to have before you get into your own practice, or is that
Well,
just like a
it's actually a regulation, part of the professional board. You can go to the test and get your exam, but they won't give you the certificate until you have 1 year experience.
okay. So you worked for someone else while you were doing your internship.
While I was going to school, yes. Yeah, and if I wouldn't have gone to school, I would have to work for, even though I would pass my exam for regulations, I would still need the experience to get my certificate, my license.
And I'm sure the things you learned for your internship helped you in your transition into your own practice.
Of course, that I really advise that any student, any field is good to really get the real world experience while you go to school, so you really have a good, shall I say, a good relationship of the two. So when you go out of when you go out into the world, you're prepared. You're more prepared. You are prepared academically and also in the real life, in the real business world.
Right. Okay, it's very interesting. And as far as, so you partnered with two other class or former classmates after your 1 year internship and after college. As far as opening your own business, how did you transition to that? How did you go about finding a location for your business?
Okay, first, I wanted to have in my profession, especially, location is like in real estate. I'm often you heard the phrase location, location, location. So, in my profession, Coral Gables had a special interest in my field because it does have a good architectural standard as well as a good economic basis. So I always wanted to have my office in the Gables area. But the Gables is expensive because of those factors. So in order to afford a place, I said, well, if I would be able to split the expenses, I would be able to afford a nice place. So that's what I did. I planned ahead with my initial project, partnered with the other fellows that they had their own projects, and we merged, and that's how we started.
It's very interesting. Okay. And as far as the marketing is concerned, how do you get your name out there? So how do you get people to recognize BLNA and choose your company over, a big name architecture firm or another big company which with several architects?
Uh, that's a good question, very good question. Uh, and like for instance, in my field, in architecture in school, they don't teach you. I don't think that they're not strong enough in the marketing business world. They are strong in design and structural and the basis of your profession. But I would advise that you have to have a marketing background and a business background in order to operate your business successfully. In my case, it was very, very hard because I didn't have the marketing background or the business background. Uh, Very often, we were finding problems with the cash flow and unexpected expenses that we didn't know that they existed.
Right.
And so I would advise any student to, in any field, to get some sort of a marketing business. It would be easier. In my case, it took years. Uh, in One other thing is that if you do a good job, a professional job, and you are honorable in your profession, it's my best tool was a word of mouth. One client, good client, talks to another good client, and so on and so forth. And then that's how you have your basis as a client base.
Right.
And also, we were very fortunate to have a big clientele like the Archdiocese of Miami, the Archdiocese of Nassau, the collection many years ago before they changed hands. Before, so we had a good repetitive business. So it's not like when you have a custom-made home that you have a one-shot type of a deal and then you have to wait for the other. But when you do have a commercial account, usually it's a repeat client
Right.
that was doing a remodeling for Porcelanosa USA, and this is our fourth showroom with them.
Okay. So we're running out of a bit of time, but I'm going to ask you two quick questions. One, as far as technology is concerned, I know you guys or many architects use certain softwares. Can you explain to me a little about your software that you use to design buildings?
Yes, technology is growing so fast and so sophisticated that you have to. It's a sure to keep up with it, but it's a great tool. In the '80s, I used the Autodesk, which is basically a two-dimensional program to produce construction documents, specifications, and drawings, and so on. It's a very good tool. Uh, we used that up to late '70s, early '80s, and then on the '90s, I came across with a very sophisticated program that I use up to date, which is made by Graphisoft, and it's a three-dimensional tool. Uh, we use the term BIM, BIM, Building Intelligent Model, which is very realistic. I'll show you what we are able to do. Were you able to see this?
Oh, can you raise it a little higher, please?
I'm sorry?
Raise the.
Yes, do you have it like this? This is a 3D model which I designed with that program. We have been using it for the last since the early part of the 90s up to now, and you can actually build virtually a building, and you can send. It's a good marketing tool because you can send it to a client. You can send it to a client, and he's be able to do what I'm doing now. He actually will be able to walk through. I'm sorry, press the wrong
I'm
button.
sorry.
You actually are able to walk through the building, look at the apartments, and at the same time generate the construction documents and specifications for it. So
Wow,
it's an excellent tool.
that's very, very interesting. It seems like it helps you guys a lot. So, as far as my next question goes, as far as human resources and personnel and your team, what is your team like? What are your workers like, and what do you consider a good employee?
Okay, a good employee for us, like we're a small firm. Uh, Basically, my business fluctuates from 8 to 15 people, 15 at the most. But my source of employees actually it's from colleagues that we talk to each other. We feed each other of the workforce that we have on common. We need to have, in our case, we need to have experience. Or the employees have to have experience, so that it's good for any architectural student to have a grasp on working on a firm. So when he graduates, he has a diploma, but he has the experience to work in an office. Uh, Usually, it's very hard for a small firm to go through an internship of an employee. Our sources are actually word of mouth from colleagues, and then subbing out to the people that we have worked with. Usually, in any architectural office, they have the workforce, and then they have peripheral uh, contacts that they use as consultants,
Right.
either in design, spec writing, and all that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That was very interesting. As far as my last question goes, what is the best advice you can give someone that is thinking about starting their own business?
I'm sorry, say that again.
So, as far as my last question goes, what would be the best advice you can give someone that is thinking about starting their own business, just like you did?
Okay. The advice that I give them is the one that I took either by chance or I would imagine that it's because of my interest in my profession. Whatever your goals are, whatever you're studying, try to get the experience also in the field. Like uh, academics and real life, they should merge, and that's the you will be learning from it constantly, either by in the workforce or in the academics. But the marriage of the two, it's essential. It's essential, and also keeping your goals in mind. If you have a feeling inside or a vocation, quote unquote, you have to follow that and then implement that in the real world. That's the best advice because each person is different and the interests are different. But I would imagine that don't look at in terms of profit and losses. Think in terms of what is it that you really want to do? What is it that you really want out of life? Pursue that in the academic and the real life. And then all the rest will be add ons. The profits will come, the cash flow will come if you have the vocation within you and do uh, what is it that whatever is inside of you that motivates you. That's my advice.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Lopez. You've been a great guest. I really appreciate you for all your time.
Been a pleasure. Good luck, Martin.
Thank you very much.